All right, we have a section about perimeter and area. We have a couple of formulas that we're going to need to learn. For perimeter, depending on the shape, the perimeter formula is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. The reason those 2's are in there is because there's 2 lengths that are the same, there's 2 widths that are the same, and we're going to add them together to find out how far it is all the way around. You can do it a little bit differently for a square because squares have the same side length. So you can just multiply it by 4, and then that would give you all the way around. Okay? So let's look at that here. So we're going to plug it into our formula for this perimeter of a rectangle. So P equals 2 times the length, which in this case 6. And remember, when we have a number squished up against parentheses, that means multiply. So I'm going to do that in this case because we're kind of plugging things in like we learned earlier in the chapter. Plus 2 times the width, which in this case is 7. I'm going to go ahead and multiply them through. I get 12 plus 14, and I'm going to have 26 inches. Of course, always giving a label if it tells you one, or a unit, I should say. So when it just says S, that should ring a bell to you that we're going to be dealing with a square. And so we're going to be using this formula up here. So in this case, we have P, and we're going to do 4 times the side length, which it tells us is 5, which is 5 feet. Give me a second while this is restarting. I apologize, hit the wrong button. And so we're going to have 20 and include the units. That's perimeter. We're going to plug it in. Remember, 2 times the length because there's 2 lengths in a rectangle. 2 times the width because there's 2 widths in a rectangle. All right, now area is a little different. I think it's easier actually because it's just kind of one step almost. So it's just the length of a side and the width times each other. If it's a square, a little bit easier. It is the area, equals a side squared, or a side times itself, because if you kind of look up here, all side lengths are the same, so we can just multiply it by the same number instead of doing length times width. So all we're going to do here, we have the area, which basically tells us how much space is inside something, is going to be 4 feet times 9 feet, so length times width, and it's going to equal 36, and here's the kicker, feet squared. All area units have to be square units, because what we're doing is we're not only multiplying the numbers by each other to get 36, we're also multiplying the units by each other. So something times itself could be written as feet squared. So all area units have to be written as square units. Here we have area equals, remember, the side length squared. Okay, so in this case it's going to be 5 squared, which, remember, from our exponent unit means 5 times 5, which means 25 feet. And don't forget the squared part, 25 feet squared. Okay, so this next problem is asking us to do not only the perimeter, but the area also. So we need to keep in mind the perimeter formula, 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And we need to keep in mind area equals length times width. Okay, so my first one, I'll go ahead and find the perimeter first. 2 times my length of 50, remember that means multiply, plus 2 times my width of 35. So let's kind of simplify that. So I'm going to have 2 times 50 is 100, plus 2 times 35, 70. And we're going to have 170, and let's look at the unit. It's meters, so we'll put an M there. So that's part of my answer. That would tell you how far all the way around. Area then would just be length, which is 50 times 35. And remember, it's going to be some type of squared unit, and so 50 times 35 equals 17 50 meters squared. Squeeze it in there. All right, this next one's a challenge, okay? And for the sake of the problem, I'm going to go ahead and make these numbers just a touch easier here to simplify it. So instead of that, let's just make that 40 feet for the sake of time. And let's make that 20 feet. And again, we're just doing that to save a little time. But the problem asks us, we're trying to plant grass for a lawn, but you don't need to seed the flower bed in the middle. So we don't want to count that. 1 pound of seed will cover 100 square feet. How many pounds of seed are we going to need? So we need to know how many square feet, which means we need to know the area. So how are we going to find the area? Well, of this whole rectangle, it's going to be 40 times 20. And again, I made your numbers a little easier for you. So 40 times 20 would be 800, but that's not, we can't stop there. So that would be 800 feet squared, but that includes the whole area. We need to take out the flower bed. So the flower bed area is 6 times 3, which is 18. So we need to take that out of there because we don't want to count it. And so that's going to give us 782 feet squared of actual grass seed. So how many bags? One bag will cover 100 square feet. So that would mean 7 bags would cover 700 square feet, right? But that's not going to get us there. And so we'll have a little extra, but basically we will need 8 pounds of grass seed in order to kind of get us where we need. Okay? And homework. All right, so this last one will be a little interesting. We need to break this into parts we can work with. And we're going to have to do a little guesswork here. So this first part should be easy because this length, and we want to find perimeter and area. So we kind of want to break down what we know. We know from here to here is 3, right? Because since that side's 3, that means this side has to be 3. So let's kind of figure out what we know. This whole side is 8 feet. But remember, again, there's 2 widths, 2 lengths. And so from, my line's not very good here, but from here to here is 2 feet. So this part is 2 feet. This top part is 3 feet. How am I going to figure out what just this middle section is? 3 feet, 2 feet, but the whole thing is 8 feet. Well, if it has to add up to 8 feet, that means we're missing 3 feet of it. Okay. Kind of several ways you could break this up. So to find the area, let's do area first. So first we're going to do 3 times 4 is going to give us 12 feet squared. All right. And we know this little side, if this whole thing is 4, then that little side must be 2 feet. So this is going to be 2 times 3 feet is 6 feet. And this is going to be 2 times 11, which is 22. And so in total, add it all up, my area is 12 plus 6, which is 18, plus 22 is 40 feet squared. Now the perimeter, we can't really use the formula, but we can go ahead and just add up all the sides. So we might almost help to redraw this. Or erase kind of what we got because they gave us all the perimeter should be the easy part here somewhat. So let's kind of go back to the beginning to find perimeter. So we know this is 8 plus 11. Okay, so let's just kind of start writing these out. 8 plus 11, work our way here, plus 2, right? Now how are we going to know what this side is? Okay, we know this whole side's 11, but how do we know how much this one is? Well, if this thing is 4 and that's 2, that means this little guy must be 2 as well. So that means from here to here must only be 9. Okay? And we already said that was 3 feet, remember, from before, this little section. Oh, we don't need to know that. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, from here, 3 feet, right? Okay, so let's go back up. So we have plus 9, plus 3, plus 2, plus another 3, plus 4. So that gets us all the way around. So we got 9 by kind of subtracting that out from here. We got 3 feet from earlier, remember, because this was 3 feet, and we determined that this was 2 feet, right? So that had to be 3 feet. Okay? So we add it all up. 8 plus 11, 19, plus 2, 21, 30, 35, and 42 feet. All right, so that was a complicated one. You might have a few questions on that one. That's okay. We'll obviously discuss more in class.